Okay, so we have here the team that is involved with putting together the master plan. So for the city of Abbotsford, we have Jeff Payton, who is the Director of Parks and Facilities. We have myself, Ingrid Coney, who's the Manager of Parks Planning. Chrissy Borthseth is our coordinator for this evening. And then we have hired IBI as our consultants to assist us with this master plan. And so we have Mark Nolan, the project lead, and he is here today to lead us through some of the background to the park. Luke Deniger, who is the project landscape architect, and Jenna Hutton, who is the engagement facilitator, and she is here with us tonight, as you can see. And here, and we're really looking forward to this presentation and very much looking forward to hearing what you think about our draft vision statement and guiding principles. Okay, so with that, I am going to hand things over to Mark Nolan, who is going to go ahead and give an overview of the park and the project.
Thank you, Ingrid. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Just to provide an overview of what we are planning to do and achieve as part of the Mill Lake Park Master Plan. The plan will provide a vision and guiding principles for the park to direct planning enhancements and management over the next 15 years. It will also include illustrative concept plans for future improvements, as well as a phased construction strategy to allow council to obtain funding and prioritize improvements. Jenna, if you could go to the next slide. As a number of you might know, a few previous plans have been prepared for the park since it was first created. The first plan was created in 1987, and it was called Mill Lake and Centennial Park Development Study. At that time, the name for the park wasn't fully, the name Mill Lake wasn't fully established for the park, and it was the west side where the pool is was referred to as Centennial Park. The plan was updated in 2003, and then the latest park master plan was prepared in 2013. These plans included a strategy for land acquisition to expand the park. A new plan is required to align with recent city policy. As some of you would know, the community plan was adopted by the city in 2016, and there have been other plans prepared around the park, including in the downtown area. And so a new plan is required to align with this updated policy. There are also some current projects already funded for the park, which are being implemented this year and next year. This includes a fountain in the lake and also a replacement of the dock on the north side of the lake. And just go to the next slide, please. So the master plan will provide broad direction for future improvements and management of the park. After adoption of the master plan, more detailed design will be required for specific improvements. So as part of this project, we're not going to get into the details of designing specific improvements or changes to the park. This is a guiding document to direct future decisions regarding enhancement and management. The plan will be subject to council review and approval, and plan implementation will be subject to approval of future funding. Unfortunately, there is, other than the projects that I just mentioned, the fountain and the dock, their future funding will have to be obtained for any other enhancements that we identify for the park. Some of the things that the plan will include and address include the overall park identity. As you would know, the park has been has grown over the last few decades, and it has different characteristics, different areas of the park. Some areas are more natural than others. Some areas of the park have been recently acquired. So there is a need to identify a broad character for the park. We will be addressing activity areas, viewpoints, landscape improvements. We'll be looking at the existing infrastructure and determining what to keep, what needs to be upgraded, and also looking at new activities or related new infrastructure. We'll be looking into the history of the site and the area around the site and recognizing and honoring that history. We'll be looking at pedestrian and cyclist access to the park, as well as parking and general circulation. Safety, security issues will be considered, including lighting and signage. We'll also be looking closely at environmental protection areas, especially the edges of the lake itself, including water quality, and some of the natural forested areas. The plan will look at park servicing, including utilities, and also ongoing management and maintenance. And as previously mentioned, one product of the plan will be a high-level costing and implementation strategy to provide council with information related to how future funding can be applied and what the priorities would be for park enhancements. So hopefully that gives you a better idea of what we're aiming to achieve as part of the plan. And I believe Jenna's now going to give you an overview of the time frame for the project.
Great, thanks, Mark. So just to give everyone a high-level idea of the timeline for this project, as Ingrid mentioned at the outset, we're currently in phase 1 of this project, which is to develop the key findings report. So this includes a review of the existing studies and city policies in place, as well as completing an inventory of the park, including any physical, environmental, social, and cultural opportunities or constraints on the site, as well as the drafting of our vision and guiding principles for the master plan. So a summary of the engagement that's completed as part of this phase will also be included in this key findings report. And these key findings are going to inform the preparation of some concept plan alternatives for the park that will be developed as part of phase 2 of the project. Once those development concept alternatives are prepared, you can expect to hear from us again, as we'll be coming back in phase 2 of the project to do a second community engagement and determine a preferred concept to move forward with in the master plan. And to give you a general idea of timeline for this project, we're looking to bring this plan forward to council in March of 2022. So there'll be a presentation to council at that point where we'll be looking for endorsement of the plan. So we'll move into our draft vision statement at this point. And the vision and guiding principles are intended to be used as benchmarks for the preparation of the design concepts and the overall master plan. So our draft vision statement is that Mill Lake Park is the heart of the city of Abbotsford's park system, connecting our diverse population with nature and each other in a park that prioritizes ecological integrity and where culture and heritage is recognized and celebrated. So I'll just read that one more time for everybody. And following that, we'll put up a poll where we'll just be looking for everyone's general agreement with the draft vision statement that we've prepared here. So again, Mill Lake Park is the heart of the city of Abbotsford's park system, connecting our diverse population with nature and each other in a park that prioritizes ecological integrity and where culture and heritage is recognized and celebrated. So just ask Chrissy to start the poll. Everyone should get a pop-up on their screen with the question and then multiple choice answer. I'll just remind everyone that there will be an opportunity for questions at the end of the presentation, but do feel free at this point, if you have any questions, to just pop them into the chat box. Just trying to move this so that everyone can still see. Do feel free to pop the questions into the chat, and we'll circle back to those during the Q&A to make sure we don't miss anything. We just have a few people who haven't voted yet, so we'll just give a few more seconds here.
That might be us, Jenna, who haven't.
Yeah, I think we're good now, so we'll end the poll. Perfect. And I believe everyone is able to view the poll results, but it looks like we have a general agreement with our draft vision that we've prepared. So thanks everyone for participating in the poll. Again, if you have any thoughts, feel free to just put those in the chat and we will circle back to that. So we'll just move into going through our draft guiding principles. We have developed 6 guiding principles which touch on 6 different themes, those being environment, heritage, amenities, recreation and culture, safety and accessibility, character and identity, and managing development. So our first guiding principle is protect and enhance the environmental qualities of the park, including lake water quality, riparian zone, tree canopy, and landscape. So as Mark mentioned earlier, a part of the master plan will be protection of environmental areas within the park as well as setbacks, and then ensuring that any activities would be complementary to those environmental protection areas. Our second guiding principle is recognize, acknowledge, and incorporate the heritage of the lake and the park, including Indigenous and post-settlement history. So we're ensuring that we're honoring that history of the lake. And one thing we've heard so far is including the history of the mill. So that could be within park theming, signage, things like that. Our third principle is enhance park infrastructure and amenities to support recreational and cultural activities, including opportunities for all people, while protecting and enhancing the natural qualities of the park. So there is a limit to the space and opportunity for activities in the park. And we want to ensure that their opportunities for sports and recreation are complementary and balanced with any passive recreation opportunities and the natural elements of the park. The fourth principle is make the park a safe space and accessible public space for all users, and facilitate and encourage active transportation access to the park with an emphasis on connections to other parks in the system and key places in the city. So we're ensuring through the master plan that we're considering Mill Lake within the greater overall park system. And there will also be an analysis of safety and accessibility improvement opportunities within the master plan itself. The fifth principle is create and maintain a distinct identity for the park. So this is something where we'll be considering points of access and egress to the park, as well as signage upon entry and wayfinding around the park. And the final guiding principle is manage development adjoining the park to minimize visual, physical, and environmental impacts while maintaining or increasing public frontage. So through this, we're looking to monitor development of adjacent properties to mitigate any potential negative impacts to the park. So we'll just put on the screen again here the 6 guiding principles that we just went through. And we'll just put up again a second poll where we're looking for a similar question on just agreement with the draft principles that we prepared here. Okay, and we'll just give, again, a few more seconds if there's a couple people left to answer the poll. Okay, great. And at that, we will end the poll. Perfect. And I think everyone should be able to see the results of the poll at this point. Again, I'll just mention if you do have any comments or points of clarity, I do see that we have some comments in the chat, so that's great. Again, feel free to pop those questions into the chat. I'll just note at any point during the Q&A, I will be able to come back to this screen too. So if there's specific questions, we can circle back to this slide. So shortly, we are going to move into our Q&A portion of the session. I'll just take the opportunity to note here that following the session, if you head over to the Let's Talk Abbotsford webpage, there is a project-specific page for Mill Lake Park that you can provide additional feedback via completion of a survey, and we'll be able to prioritize some of the activities that we have in the park and what you might want to see in the future. And all the responses that we receive as part of that survey, as well as the discussion we have here tonight, will be compiled as the basis of the master plan. And just a reminder, when we do move into the Q&A, please do utilize that reactions feature at the bottom of your screen, where you can click the raise hand button, which will indicate that you'd like to ask a question. And as always, we can still continue to use the chat. I'll just pass it back to Mark here, and we're just going to do a quick overview of the existing conditions in the park.
Thanks, Jenna. So I'm just going to point out a number of the major features of the park, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, but just as a guide to this image. So I'm going to start on the west side of the park next to Emerson Street. So this area here, sorry, this is the MSA Arena. It's outside the study boundary, but it adjoins the park. This is Centennial Pool. These are the 2 ball diamonds that adjoin Emerson Street. This area here is the playground and spray park.
Sorry, Mark, I'm just going to interrupt you really quick. I gave you control, but I think you still need to accept it because we can't see your cursor.
Okay. Let me see.
Perfect.
Is it working now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. I'll just go over those quickly again. MSA Arena, the ball diamonds here, Centennial Pool, spray park and playground area. This forested area, which is generally described by the city as Bevan Forest. Just scooting around the south edge of the lake over to the labyrinth, which is the planted hedge garden here. Another playground and parking area off Bevan Avenue. This is the large open grassed area, lawn bowling club. Over here adjoining Ware Street, this corner we have Trethaway House. Just up here a little bit to the north of that, we have the Carrington House Gallery. This orange line with the little walking symbol on it is the boardwalk at the northeast corner of the lake. It then connects up to Borkund Crescent. The pathway around the northeast edge of the lake then continues along this asphalt path to the viewing area here. Then also continues past the ball diamond that's on Lindale Street to the dock here in the north part of the park and the parking area that adjoins Mill Lake Road. To the north of that, we have the little trail that goes up to the Seven Oaks shopping center. This area here is generally called Seven Oaks Forest. And to the west, adjoining Gladwin Road, we have what is generally called Gladwin Forest there. So they're the major features of the park just for orientation purposes. And then Jenna, I think, are you going to explain a bit more detail what people will do or can do during the Q&A?
Gotta get you off controlling my screen.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Sorry if I'm messing things up.
No worries. So we'll just quickly go over some of the next steps in the project here. And following that, we'll move into our Q&A, at which point we can stop the recording. So currently we are doing the public and stakeholder reporting stage of this project. So following this, as I mentioned, there will be a survey live on Let's Talk Abbotsford. That survey will be open for the next 2 weeks, so until the end of the month, the 31st. And once we have all of the feedback from the engagement sessions, we will be compiling and analyzing all of the feedback and incorporating that into the key findings report, which is targeted to be prepared in September. Following that, we'll be preparing the development concept alternatives in October and coming back to you for the second public engagement opportunity in November of this year. So I'll just move back to my map while we do the Q&A. And at this point, do feel free to unmute your microphone and utilize that hand raise feature, and we can go through any questions that we have at this point. Well,